Good day, folks. This is video number 25 in the playlist that's devoted to the Surface tab of the 3D Experience CATIA Generative Shape Design application. Okay, I want to remind you that there are two playlists for CATIA, 3D Experience CATIA Generative Shape Design. One of them was called Wireframe tab. That has about 59, 60 videos at this point. And the other one where this video is going to go is associated with the Surface tab of the software. Okay. And the particular icon that we're going to be discussing is the sweep icon, which is one of the advanced options, advanced icons, because there's so many possibilities for making selections. And then much of, well, I would say not much, but a lot of stuff in this generative shape design are visual based. There may not be sufficient documentation on what the surfaces are, how they're generated, etc. So one just relies on the visual aspects of it and maybe accepts it or modifies it. When you look at the Surface tab of the generative shape design, you have access to sweep. And when you click on the sweep icon, this dialog box opens up. Okay. And notice that up here there is 4 possibilities. Okay. The one that we're discussing right now is this one, which is called Explicit Profile. And when you select that, this itself has actually 3 possibilities. We have already discussed in the earlier video, last two videos, we have discussed the case where this is the with the reference surface. But now in this video, we're going to be looking at the situation which is discussing the two guide curves. Okay, so notice that this, as I said, as a subtype we have with reference surface. That was videos 24 and 23, I believe. And now we're looking at with two guide curves, and altogether there's 21 different possibilities. But this particular one is we're going to look at two guide curves. Now, this has two parts to it. There is the mandatory selections, which is up here. Obviously, for the case that we're dealing, there is a profile, and then there is two guide curves that we have to do, and there are these anchor points that if you decide to fool around with it. And then there's optional element, which is a lot of stuff that can be done here, and that's why this is more or less of the advanced icon type problems. The CATIA v5 aspects of this tutorial, although it's not in English, can be found up there, and it's a very good resource. And there is an English version, which is down here, but it's fairly limited in what is being discussed. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. Okay, so the first example I'm going to do is going to be fairly straightforward, and gradually I remove some of the restrictions that I have on these problems. Let me first make a profile. On that vertical plane, I will draw a profile, which is half a circle for simplicity. So I'll make a profile like this, half a circle, like so. Exit. Dimensions don't matter here. Now, I will make two guide curves, and one of them will be on this vertical plane, the other one on the horizontal plane. Okay, so let me go ahead and so this is going to be, this is the profile. On the horizontal plane, I will sketch. Now I'm going to make it a straight line for simplicity, so let me start actually somewhere down here and go there. Now, Generally speaking, the guide curve do not have to intersect the profile, but in this case, I will actually make sure that they start at the same point. That does not have to be the case. So that's this. I'm going to make this thing coincident. Good. Exit. And again, when I do the second example, I'll draw this guide curve so that it actually does not intersect this. So the other one, I'm going to make it, the other guide curve, I'm going to make it maybe a spline. And to make my job easier, why don't I make a plane at this location? So I will make a offset from a plane, from this plane. All right, so let me drag this thing to that location, and then we say OK. All right. Now, uh, on that vertical plane, I will sketch, and now my spline is going to be kind of arbitrary, so maybe something like this. There is a spline, exit. So I have two curves. This is going to be one of my guide curves. This is going to be the second guide curve. This one is in the XY plane. This one is in a different plane, which is in a vertical plane, which is uh, you know, offset from that vertical plane. Now, this one I did it so that it doesn't intersect that. If I wanted to, I can make him intersect, but I'll just leave it there. One of them is intersecting, the other one is not. Okay, that's fine, no problem. And let me just make this thing a little bit longer. There we are. Okay. These planes I don't want, but I can hide them, but I'll just leave it the way it is. So we go to the Surface tab and select the sweep, and we are doing the explicit sweep, the first one, explicit sweep, and the option that we're using is with two guide curves. Now for the profile, I select half a circle, and for my first guide curve, notice that I have two of them. It doesn't matter which one I take first, but the point is that whatever I take first, it's going to put it in here, and it will use that automatically as the spine. Okay, so I select this. This is sketch 2, I believe. Yeah, sketch 2. And notice it automatically puts it there and uses it as the spine. I want to remind you that the shape of the swept surface heavily depends on the spine that is used, the guide curves that are used, and of course the profile itself. Okay, now let's see what happens here. The second guide curve obviously is going to be this. And once again, notice that this guide curve does not intersect that, which is fine. And this one does, no problem. So preview. Okay, there we are. All right, couple of things. Notice that, yeah, this guide curve, which intersected my profile, actually goes through that point, but this guide curve did not intersect my profile. And the shape of the surface actually does depend on this guide curve. You can see that, but it doesn't have to lie on it. Okay, we could have made it lie on it. Now let's do something else. Now this thing was the uh, automatically that first guide curve was used as a spine. But let's say no, I actually want to make the spine here. The spine, I want to make it based on these two guide curves, calculate the spine. So put the cursor there, right click, insert wireframe, and go and find the spine. Create spine. Create spine. Do I want to do it based on planes or on guide? I want to do it based on guide. I want to use the guides. This is one of them, and this is the other one. As soon as I do that, it creates a spine here. You can see that. Now this is not the same as that, which was by default used automatically without me creating. You can see that it's actually a curved surface. And then say OK, and then preview. As soon as I say preview, that shape will change. It did change. You can see that. It did change. Now, I could have also used this as the spine if I wanted to. For example, let me clear this, clear that, and use as the spine of the third one. Preview. Yeah. So which one is right, which one is wrong? There is no right and wrong in this workbench, pretty much. You can do whatever you want. Now, there's something else that I want to show you here. Notice that there is this thing called, let me actually clear all these. Let me actually clear all these. Let me go back to the default. This was the default, using Sketch 2 as spine. Now, there is this thing called, I don't need the spine, I'm going to hide this, okay? Now, there is this thing called relimiter. That means you don't have to show me the whole thing, just show me the portion of the swept surface that I'm asking you to do. So you go here, relimiter 1, right click, insert wireframe, insert a point. So what you do on a curve, and let's say this is my spine curve. Remember, this was the default one. So for example, yeah, right there. So this is one of the relimiting locations. And for the second one, again, insert wireframe, create a point on a curve, on the same curve, and this is going to be the other one. Notice what happens when I say OK. It gives me only the portion of the swept surface between the points that I selected. The 2 points that I selected, relimited points, were here. If I go here, for example, if I go to that sweep and say, OK, forget about the second relimiting one, just clear this, and then preview, it gives me from the point that I selected on that spine to the end. So you know what this thing works. You know how this thing works. So let me actually go ahead and use a guide curve that I want, or not a guide curve, a spine that I want. Remember, if you don't do anything, it uses the first guide curve as the spine. If you want to select something else, you have to have a curve to do that. Or if you want to compute the spine between these two guide curves, you can compute the spine and use that. But what I'm going to do is this. So let me go ahead, let me delete this. All right. I'll go to that horizontal plane and I will draw, yep, I'll draw maybe another spline. Let me do that. Exit. And let's use this as the spine. So we go to surface, sweep. This is the profile. This is the guide curve. This is another guide curve. Now for the spine, I don't want the default, which is the first one, but I want to use this and preview. So what happens is that it definitely looks like it cannot do this. Okay, read it. Sweep or loft or blend operator, impossible to homogenize the guide, etc. So we say, fine, obviously this is a problem. Cancel that. Let me go to this and clear it up. So maybe make this thing a little bit more user-friendly, like that. Okay, exit. Let's try it now. So we have sweep. This is the first. This is the profile. This is the first guide curve. This is the second guide curve. And the spine, I use this, which I randomly drew it, and this one works. So it's not easy to predict stuff when you use this icon, unless it's kind of trivial situation. That takes care of the first video. For this particular functionality, sweep, explicit, two guide curves. I'll do a couple more. Have fun with it.